Hi everyone, how's it going? And welcome to another episode of my LANGERR at the Mike podcast. I have exciting news for you because from now on, as you can see, we got a microphone. So as you could probably tell, the sound quality is much better now compared to previous videos, and I'm hoping to keep it that way. And we're going to do another live episode here, a live style episode here. Again, just previewing Cowboys training camp, which is why I got, again, this shirt on, as I wore in another previous episode. But hope everyone had a fantastic weekend. I did a round of golf and I went to the driving range, a couple of workouts, shot a couple of workout videos, which I haven't posted yet. Stay tuned for that on my Instagram page. And let's get right into it, because last week what we did is we previewed the Dallas Cowboys, what I think the final roster would look like in terms of numbers at each position group and in terms of who will actually be on the roster. So today we're going to do something similar, and we're going to look back at that prediction, and we're going to look at some of the most interesting training camp battles at each position. So, let's get right into it. And today will be a glasses episode here because I didn't wear my contacts, so we'll get right into it. So, just to recap last episode, again, for the 55-man final roster, we have two quarterbacks, Dak Prescott and Andy Dalton. Running backs, we have three with Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard, and Jameis Olawale. Wide receivers, we kept six. Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, Devin Smith, Cedric Wilson, Ventel Bryant. Tight end, we have three, Blake Jarwin, Dalton Schultz, Blake Bell. Offensive tackle, we have four, Tyron Smith, Lyle Collins, Brandon Knight, Cam Irving. Offensive guard, we have three with Zach Martin, Connor Williams, Connor McGovern. Center, we have three with Joe Looney, Tyler Biotage, and Adam Redmond. Defense now, the defensive end, we have DeMarcus Lawrence, Tyrone Crawford, Alden Smith, Bradley Anae, Dorrance Armstrong Jr., Randy Gregory, or someone else if Randy Gregory does not get reinstated, so that's six. Defensive tackle, we have Gerald McCoy, Dontari Poe, Neville Gallimore, and Antoine Woods for four. Linebacker, we have Leighton Vander Esch, Jalen Smith, Sean Lee, Joe Thomas, Justin March, Luke Gifford, Azor Kamara for six. Cornerback, we have Chido Awuzie, Jordan Lewis, Trayvon Diggs, Anthony Brown, Darryl Worley, Reggie Robinson, Maurice Canady, and CJ Goodwin. That's eight. At safety, we have Xavier Woods, HaHa Clinton-Dix, Darian Thompson, and Donovan Wilson for four. And special teams, we have one kicker, Greg Zuerlein, punter, Chris Jones, and long snapper, LP Ladouceur. So that's the roster that I am predicting. Just on offense, we'll recap the numbers again. That's three centers, three guards, four tackles, three tight ends, six wide receivers. I don't know if I mentioned that before. So now we're going to dissect position by position now and look at what will be the most interesting training camp battles and what is most subject to change based on what I mentioned. So let's take it from the top with quarterback and running back. So quarterback, I'm pretty confident that it'll just be Dak and Andy Dalton. Ben DiNucci is going to have to have a hell of a training camp to earn a roster spot. But again, given that we're going from a 53-man roster to a 55-man roster, who knows? Maybe he could sneak in. Just if the Cowboys choose to protect him from other teams' practice squads. And running back, I think will stay fairly the way it is with Zeke, Tony Pollard, and Jameis Olawale. I don't know if Jordan Chun, Rico Dowdle, or Sewo Olonilua will make enough noise to earn a roster spot. But on offense, here's where it will get very interesting. So Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and CeeDee Lamb will be your top three. But honestly, anything behind that is honestly just who knows. And that's what we're going to get more into right now. So the guys behind Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and CeeDee Lamb are as follows. They're Devin Smith, Cedric Wilson, Ventel Bryant, and also that's who I have making the team, but you also have to add Noah Brown, John V. Johnson, Tevin Jones. And this obviously is assuming that the Cowboys don't decide to pick anyone up in free agency or off other teams' practice squads or don't make any trades. So let's talk about this. So Noah Brown and John V. Johnson, I would say, are the more likely candidates to challenge Cedric Wilson, Ventel Bryant, and Devin Smith. I don't know too much about Tevin Jones. I mean, look, Tevin Jones could really have a strong performance, but I'm saying I don't know about his ability to overtake any of the previous 8 guys that I mentioned. But right now, I'm giving the nod to Devin Smith, Cedric Wilson, and Ventel Bryant because they've been in the program for, I think, more years than John V. Johnson and Tevin Jones. But also, more importantly, they add special team ability. Now, Devin Smith actually doesn't, but I'm talking more so about Cedric Wilson and Ventel Bryant. They're more of special teams guys, which when you're looking at the bottom half of the roster is very important in terms of keeping a roster spot. Now, the reason why I left Noah Brown out here, and this is an interesting omission, or one that I would consider an interesting omission in terms of the bottom half of the roster, is because I see him more as a Jason Garrett guy, as a as a tall, big, heavy wide receiver, not a very fast guy, very physical, more of a blocker, not so much a finesse pass-catching guy. And I think in terms of special teams ability, Cedric Wilson, Ventel Bryant, I think are a little bit ahead of him. So that's why I have Noah Brown as being omitted here. But again, he can very well outperform Cedric Wilson and Ventel Bryant and Devin Smith and overtake their roster spot. Now, I think I would say Devin Smith and Ventel Bryant, their spots are less secure than Cedric Wilson because Cedric Wilson is a better punt returner. But I would say that Devin Smith is actually the most likely of the 6 that I have making the team to not make the team, once again because of his lack of special team abilities. But I do really like Devin Smith as a backup wide receiver, meaning a guy that will step in if Michael Gallup or Amari Cooper or CeeDee Lamb gets hurt, and he'll be able to specifically play out wide and be a really good or interesting deep threat option behind the big 3 of Cooper, Gallup, and CeeDee Lamb. So, but again, because of his lack of special team ability, he's got to prove that he can still be a capable wide receiver. Because if he underperforms in training camp, then his roster spot will most likely be taken by Noah Brown or John V. Johnson or Tevin Jones or someone at another position. So that's pretty much wide receiver and why I have Devin Smith, Cedric Wilson, Ventel Bryant making the team ahead of Noah Brown, John V. Johnson, and Tevin Jones. Now, tight end, Blake Jarwin, Dalton Schultz, Blake Bell. That's the 3. I think it's going to stay that way. The undrafted guys, Cole Hikatini, Sean McKeon, and Charlie Taumopo can maybe challenge them a little bit, but I'm pretty confident that it will be Blake Jarwin, Dalton Schultz, and Blake Bell. But don't sleep too much on Blake Bell because he came from Kansas City. He had he had that one really big touchdown reception in particular. I think it was the one where I don't know if it was Mitch Schwartz with the Chiefs or one of the Chiefs linemen decided to rain himself with beer. So that was pretty awesome. But yeah, don't sleep on him because I see him maybe passing Dalton Schultz on the depth chart. It is Dalton Schultz's 3rd year with the Cowboys, having been drafted in 2018. But I think so. Look, he'll make the team. Dalton Schultz will make the team, but Blake Bell could very well overtake Dalton Schultz on the depth chart if he performs well. Now, so that's tight end. Not going to change much there. Offensive tackle could get interesting, or I'd say offensive line in general will be a very interesting battle, as it always is every year, because you'll have Tyron Smith, Lyle Collins for sure starting on the outside. That we know they're Pro Bowl caliber players. Lyle Smith doesn't get enough love, but he's a Pro Bowl caliber player, so they'll get time on the outside. But if Tyron Smith gets hurt, now here's where I would say Brandon Knight is the primary backup. But after that, Cam Irving is going to be the backup, but I wouldn't say with 100% certainty that it will stay that way because, like I mentioned in my previous video, I've seen from people that have covered the Chiefs, Cameron Irving did play last year. He did sub in, play a couple of games, started a couple of games, but he was a turnstile sometimes. So if he ends up being a turnstile in training camp and if he keeps getting beat off the edge, well, he might not get a roster spot. But given the fact that he's a veteran and the fact that he has started games before, he will get a leg up over some of the undrafted guys, Mitch Hyatt and Wyatt Miller, after him. So as a result, offensive line will be one of the battles to look at. And I want to add this bit about who I think the starters on the offensive line will be. So what will be very interesting to see, like I mentioned, Tyron Smith, Lyle Collins are set at tackle, but offensive guard and center, besides Zach Martin at right guard, of course, but center and offensive guard between Connor Williams, Joe Looney, Tyler Biotish, and Connor McGovern. Who will come out on top will be interesting to see, and will have to be decided based on the way the guys perform in training camp. Right now, I took the safe bet of Joe Looney starting at center, Connor Williams starting at left guard, and of course Zach Martin at right guard. But if anything, I think if anything else is possible, I would say Tyler Biotish could outplay Joe Looney for the center position, and I think Connor Williams' spot at left guard is safe if he plays well enough. But if Connor McGovern outperforms Connor Williams, then Connor McGovern could very well also be the left guard starting for the Cowboys. So so it'll be very interesting to see how that all plays out as well. I actually have to just take a quick break here, but we'll be right back on this episode of Langer at the Mic. Hi, and welcome to the second half of this Langer at the Mic episode. I just had to take a quick break there, but now I'm back, and we're going to continue talking about training camp battles for the Dallas Cowboys going into this week. So far we discussed that wide receiver and offensive line will be the most interesting so far. So now let's get into the defense now, starting with on the edge rushers. So like I said, we have DeMarcus Lawrence, Tyron Crawford, and they'll be your starters, I believe, at left and right defensive end. DeMarcus Lawrence will be the every down guy. Tyron Crawford, look, honestly, who knows what the new defense will look like? It'll be very interesting to see in training camp. But yeah, Tyron Crawford, if they use him correctly, I'd say he's best as a run stopper, first and second down, a very valuable run stopper. And then Aldon Smith will come in as a pass rusher on third downs and in pass rushing situations. And Bradley and I, as a draft pick, is pretty sure to make the team. Dorrance Armstrong, as a now veteran, I believe a 4 or 5 year veteran, will be pretty sure to make the team unless he severely underperforms. But here's where it gets interesting. Now, the Randy Gregory situation will have will play a large factor in terms of determining that sixth edge rusher spot. If he's reinstated, then he's got it. That's his spot to lose. But if he does not get reinstated, then Ladarius Hamilton, Joe Jackson, Jalen Jelks, up to you. And honestly, it's just going to come down to their performance in training camp. Whichever defensive end plays the best, they'll most likely get that sixth defensive end spot. If all of them don't perform well enough to get that sixth defensive end spot, then just maybe the Cowboys will carry 5 edge rushers and use that roster spot somewhere else. So, but for now, let's assume that Randy Gregory will get reinstated. He'll get that 6th spot. If not, I'm just gonna give a wild guess that it will be, let's say Joe Jackson, just because I like Joe Jackson's measurables. Although then again, it could be Jalen Jelks because of his versatility to play outside linebacker. But I would probably just have to give it to Joe Jackson, to be honest. It's going to be Joe Jackson. He'll take the Randy Gregory spot if Randy Gregory does not get reinstated. So that's defensive end. Now, defensive tackle. I would say it's going to be, I'm fairly confident that's going to be Gerald McCoy, Dontari Poe, Neville Gallimore, Antoine Woods, which the only interesting thing about this is that I don't have Tristan Hill making the final roster because the Cowboys will most likely carry 4 defensive tackles. Unless, you know what, the only interesting thing could be that if, like I said, you have Ladarius Hamilton, Joe Jackson, Jalen Jelks underperforming at defensive end, or maybe if one of the receivers, they choose to not keep an extra receiver or 4 offensive tackles, then they could very well go ahead and maybe add Tristan Hill as a 5th defensive tackle to the roster. Who knows? We'll see. If that doesn't happen, I would say it's most likely going to be the four that I mentioned. Linebacker, in terms of linebacker play, so you have Leighton Vander Esch, Jalen Smith, Sean Lee. Those are going to be the top three between middle linebacker and outside linebacker. You'll have Joe Thomas as a backup Will linebacker and a backup Mike linebacker. Justin March will be there, I think, for special teams. And Luke Gifford will be there as a strong side linebacker. But here's the thing where it gets interesting, because I would say Azor Kamara and Francis Bernard, from what I've heard of the undrafted free agents, will be are some of the most enticing undrafted free agents in terms of their ability to make the team. So if Azor Kamara and Francis Bernard can make enough plays, they might earn their spot on the roster, which is why I have Azor Kamara being a sixth linebacker, not only for his ability to play linebacker, but also for his ability to potentially rush the passer. So again, they might add one of the two guys onto the roster for just to keep them off other teams' practice squads. And I think Francis Bernard, if he makes the team, it'll be more as a backup middle linebacker or outside linebacker in the scheme, which again could be a hybrid scheme. So that's where honestly Azor Kamara might even make more sense in the end for his ability to rush the passer in what will be a hybrid, most likely a hybrid scheme with the new coaching staff. So that's linebacker, little bit of intrigue, and now let's go into the secondary, which will be the most interesting training camp battle to watch, because there are a lot of bodies, there's a lot of positions that are not guaranteed, so it's going to be a very fun battle to watch. Safety, I think, is fairly set in stone with Xavier Woods and HaHa Clinton-Dix. What I really like about Xavier Woods and HaHa Clinton-Dix is that they both have the flexibility to play both at the free safety and strong safety position, which I think the coaching staff will really love, because that means, you won't have Xavier Woods playing center field all the time, or you won't have HaHa Clinton-Dix playing center field all the time. Maybe they'll alternate it. Maybe they can disguise blitzes that much easier. There's going to be a lot of flexibility with two guys being able to play both free safety and strong safety. And then you're going to have Darian Thompson and Donovan Wilson playing as backups and also as special teams guys. So that's safety. Just want to start with safety because that I think will be a little more simple. But now corner will be interesting. Corner will be, like I said, extremely interesting, because I think what the safest bet is that it will be Chido Awuzie who could also very well move to safety, which again is we don't know what will happen with that, but I think the safe bet is that Chido will be a corner and not a safety, even though he very well could be moved to safety, and Chido will be the number one corner, followed by I'm gonna say Trayvon Diggs, man. I'm gonna say Trayvon Diggs will be the second corner, because Jordan Lewis Jordan Lewis I think is the best corner on this team, but I'm not sure if the coaching staff will give him the benefit of the doubt because of his measurables being under 6 feet and under 200 pounds. And the coaching staff, if there's anything that the coaching staff has been seemingly rigid about so far, is the height of their cornerbacks. So needing them to be at least 6 feet and 200 pounds. So that's why I think Jordan Lewis, even though he might be the best corner on this on the roster, he might not get the benefit of the doubt. As a result, Trayvon Diggs might be the second cornerback option behind Chido Awuzie, and Anthony Brown will be the starter at slot cornerback, and Jordan Lewis will once again be used as a fourth cornerback, dime cornerback, to just cover, a specialty guy that'll cover Kamara or, any type of specialty players that are on the opposing offense, which I don't love, but I'm just thinking what the coaching staff will most likely do. And then Daryl Worley, as a veteran, will be an interesting backup option. I just think he will get the benefit of the doubt because, again, of his measurables, Daryl Worley now, and also his veteran experience. So I think he will get a roster spot behind the top four that I just mentioned. Reggie Robinson will get a roster spot because he is a fourth-round pick. And after that, honestly, it's really a crapshoot between Maurice Canady, C.J. Goodwin, DeAndre Burton, and Savion Smith and Chris Westry. So I have Maurice Canady and C.J. Goodwin making the team because of their ability to contribute on special teams, particularly Maurice Canady. They're not going to be necessarily corners; they're going to be more special teams aces. But it's going to be interesting to see if Savion Smith, Chris Westry, and Deontay Burton can compete and maybe earn a roster spot as either special teams guys or corners. It'll be interesting to see. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that we're going to talk about today. Special teams, not much to really get into. LP is pretty safe at long snapper. Chris Jones is pretty safe at punter. And all there really is to see is whether Greg Zuerlein or Kai Forbath will be the kicker. I think it's going to be Greg Zuerlein because he has the richer contract and more guaranteed money, so it'll be more difficult to cut him. And as a result, the only way that Kai Forbath makes a team is that if he stays consistent like he was last year, and if Greg Zuerlein struggles with consistency and to the point where he looked like Brett Maher last year. But if that doesn't happen, then Greg Zuerlein will get the nod at kicker. And that's today's episode of LANGERR at the Mic. So if you like what you saw, if you agree with my takes, then be sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you know when my next video comes out. And you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. I included my handles in the description below. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed the first episode with my new mic, and I look forward to seeing you at the next episode of LANGERR at the Mic.